Today I'm going to prove to you why this is the best build in Standard for Magic Find. Almost without question. It is a type of armor stacker build that goes replica Dream Feather and uses the advantage of gaining defenses to also gain offense, something that's been notorious in ARPGs for a long time, as well as in Path of Exile for sure, is that the best builds are builds that can scale offense with their defense. So being able to do that and Magic Find is very, very good. This is not possible in any of the new leagues. This is definitely a legacy build, something you can only pull off in standard. Things like quantity of items found are impossible to get in league now, so it's something unfortunately you can only do in standard now. But that being said, that's what standard's there for, is to have fun with all these crazy items. Let's go over some of these crazy items, shall we? So basically, going over the tree, a majority of the tree is just putting on global defense tattoos and going to every jewel socket that I can possibly find in order to put aura effect jewels and other just random unique jewels that I need in the build. Besides that, I'm going for chaos inoculation, of course, so to give me immunity to chaos damage, as well as Zealot's Oath for the bonus life regen you get from having overcap fire resistance. This build uses a chess piece that I'll get to that makes it very, very strong to get regen based on your fire res. And then it runs iron reflexes, but it runs it in a keystone tattoo. So a while ago, there was a league called Trial of the Ancients, I think. We called it Tota or Totem, whatever you want to call it. It was the Tattoo League. It was the league when tattoos came out, and one of the tattoos that came out that has not come back is the Journey's Maka Nui tattoo or something, and it's a keystone tattoo. It's a tattoo that lets you change a keystone into any other random keystone. The thing is they're ridiculously expensive now, and it can take like up to 180 rolls to get what you want. Sometimes more, sometimes less. Thankfully, I got lucky on mine, but the odds are slim that you'll get what you want on your first roll or even your first 10 to 15 rolls. And thankfully, I got lucky and got mine pretty early. But yeah, so chasing that to save me about 8 skill points is definitely like it was definitely worth it for my build, but also it's something that like not a lot of people are going to be able to pull off. Uh, but that's why this build is the best build because it is really expensive and I put, basically all 10 years of me playing Path of Exile has gone into making this build. So this is my magnum opus, I would say. And as somebody who is a mirror crafter and makes a lot of currency every league, this is something that did take literally everything that I've made currency from. People always ask me, like, why do you need 60 mirrors in a league? And the answer is I don't. The answer is I need it for standard. I need those 60 mirrors for standard so I can do things like lock missed items for extra quant, stuff like that. It's crazy the amount of projects that I get involved in, but it's a lot of fun. So past the skill tree, let's go to the actual skills, the skill gems, and we'll go over that. So basically the way it works is we're running a spectral shield throw shattering, and this is a really good gem for builds that aren't trying to run a lot of support gems. It has a lot of good scaling by itself. It's a good attack skill. So this allows us to run item quant and item rarity in the 6th link. It also doesn't require the use of things like Herald of Ice or Herald of Ash or Explode, and therefore the item quant and item rarity triggers more often on the Spectral Shield Throw and, doesn't get disrupted by things like outside kills from things like Herald of Ice. So the 6th link is Spectral Shield Throw, Shattering, Awaken Fork, Faster Projectiles, Returning Projectiles, Item Quant, Item Rarity. Item Quant hasn't been a skill gem in the game in a long time. It's just a standard thing, and it is very expensive, but it is incredible as a skill gem. It gives you 43% increased quant, and all you have to do is have a gem socket for it. In the first weapon, the main hand, we're running Leap Slam Rage Faster Attacks, just a way to get rage by hopping around, but mainly it's just a travel skill. And then in our gloves, we are running Clarity, Purity of Elements, Val Discipline, and an Enlighten. And this is just basically more energy shield. Purity of Elements gives us immunity to all ailments, elemental ailments, and then it also gives us some extra elemental resistance, which increases our damage, increases our regen, increases our defense. And then Clarity is mainly for some of the Watcher's Eye stuff, but also the small amount of regen that it gives me with all the aura effect that I have is actually pretty useful. And then in the helmet, we have Grace, Awakened, Enlightened, Determination, and Empower. So I'm basically just equipping Grace and Determination and stacking the levels as high as I can because this is an armor stacker build. We want to stack those auras to the moon. So that's how we're doing it. And then in the boots, we're running Val Haste, Precision, Enlighten again, and then Purity of Fire. And again, the Purity of Fire is mainly for the extra resistances, but it also gives us extra resistance cap, which helps when we have a ton of aura effect. We're able to actually bring that cap all the way up to 90% off of just a plus 5% max res uh, modifier. So what would typically give you 80% gives us 90% because we are stacking aura effect. And then with melding of the flesh, we're able to transition that over to all the other resistances. Precision's just for some extra accuracy rating. Again, since we have the aura effect, our accuracy is not a problem. And then also it gives us some extra crit chance, which is also super useful for a build that is definitely trying to crit cap. So it is helpful. And then Val Haste is just, of course, a great action speed modifier that helps us run faster, hit faster. And then in our offhand, we're running Sniper's Mark, Inspiration, a mark on hit, some extra damage against single targets, extra damage against rares and uniques. For the items, we're running, like I said, a Dream Feather Eternal Sword, and this is mainly just being used for the increased attack damage per 450 armor, and then mine is a Crucible weapon for some extra attack speed and global damage, as well as some attributes to help with increased energy shield and accuracy, but mainly the only mod that really matters on this weapon is the increased attack damage per 450 armor. Everything else really doesn't even need to be here, and it would still be just as good. And then in our offhand, we're running a Viper Song Titanium Spirit Shield. This is a mirror level Crucible shield that is basically trying to stack energy shield as much as it possibly can, and then gives you some extra attack speed, chance to deal double damage, and some frenzy charges. But it also has the special shield throw Crucible ability that gives you added lightning damage per 15 energy shield on your shield instead of the added physical damage based on the armor and evasion, which helps us stack more flat damage. And then also gives us physical damage converted to lightning. So an easy conversion as well. Very powerful Crucible mod for special shield throw builds. For the helmet, we're running a quant helmet with some reservation, some extra levels, some rarity. It's mainly just a magic fine helmet. Again, it's mirror tier. It's running some legacy stuff like quant is a legacy mod, and then the reservation mod with quant in particular is legacy, and then uh, obviously the rest is stuff you can get nowadays. I think the rarity on it might be legacy, but I'm not positive. And then for the body armor, we're running something that people might be familiar with. It's called the bug chest. And the bug chest is, I mean, I don't know how this even exists in the game, but it does. And it's basically a chest with 25,000 fire resistance. And then it gives us armor and evasion is increased by overcap fire and cold resistance. So we get a ton of fire resistance, and then we use Tessalio's cleansing water, which gives us lightning and cold resistance based on half of our fire resistance. So we're kind of double dipping on that, and it gives us an insane amount of defenses for free. I mean, not for free. This item is like 5 mirrors, but you know, insanely good. And then For the gloves, we're just running some quant gloves with extra energy shield, legacy energy shield, and int and AoE gems. Again, we're just scaling gem levels. We're penetrating lightning resistances. We're getting a few extra strike target, which it doesn't really matter with this build, if I'm being honest, because the shattering effect really does kind of blow up packs. And then yeah, basically we're just using it for the energy shield and quant. And then the boots. The boots do matter. We have pierce 5 additional enemies, which does matter when you're running spectral shield throw. In order to get that shield to not bounce off the first target it hits, it will go through 5 targets and then come back, which will cause a lot more shard explosions. We're also getting tailwind, we're getting quantity of items found, movement speed, you know, all the good stuff. Very, very good for the build. The amulet is lock misted. I paid 10 mirrors for the amulet. Check that real quick. Yep, 287%. And then the rarity is 204%. So pretty up there, I'd say. Getting close to 300% quant is very hard to do, even in standard. Typically, people who are running standard Magic Find builds are getting close to 200 quant. I am hitting close to 300. Um, I think the perfect maximum that I could hit on this build is 310%. And I would get an extra 10% on the ring, which would then go, or it's an extra 9% on the ring, which would then double because I have a Calandra's touch. So that would be an 18%. And then the 5% on my belt for Mage Blood. If you get a quant corrupted Mage Blood, it's an extra 5% quant. And then I get like 1% extra quant on my item quant uh, gem because it's level 20, not level 21. But yeah, 287% has been doing great for me. It would be cool to hit 300% one day, but um, those changes are super expensive, so I I don't have a plan yet to do it. Then we're running a Legacy Taste of Hate Sapphire Flask for the extra 30% fizz taken as, and then 30% fizz damage as. Um, since we are converting fizz to lightning, at least to some degree, it's giving us some extra damage. It's actually not a lot of damage, but we're mainly using it for the fizz taken as, and because there's no other really better item to be using. Then we're using a Quicksilver Flask with Legacy Movement Speed, a Stibnite Flask with Legacy Reduced Mana Cost, an Alchemist Basalt Flask with Legacy Stun Avoidance and Movement Speed, because we have no other way to avoid getting stunned. This is our only way. And then a Diamond Flask with increased rarity, which I don't think is Legacy. I think 30% rarity is still possible on flasks. And then, yeah, for jewels, we're mainly just running Aura Effect jewels, Reservation, Introspection, some voices. That which was taken with the important mod on this is armor applies to fire, cold, and lightning damage taken from hits. Um, insane amounts of fizz max hit, insane amounts of elemental max hit, but it is also like a 6 mirror modifier onto that which was taken because it is a legacy item now. And it was super rare back when it was out. So very expensive, but very, very strong. And then, of course, the Forbidden Flesh and Flame for Salio Cleansing Water, and a Seething Fury, which is giving us extra attack damage while holding a shield, but mainly we're using it for the extra base crit per 10 max energy shield on our shield, and the extra crit multi that we get for the energy shield on our shield. It's giving us like something like 600% crit multi. It's like 300 million damage. So Seething Fury holds like most of the damage. This is, I don't think this is the legacy version, or if it is, I think there's like two legacy versions. There's one that gives you zero point 0.2 base crit, and then there's one that gives you 0.15, and then I think nowadays it's 0.1. So I got like the middle of the road one, and it's enough to crit cap me, so I didn't have to splurge for the more expensive one. And then we're running a Watcher's Eye, which is mainly we're using this for dealing with crit damage. So we're reducing crit strike damage, and then we're getting some phasing while affected by haste. Phasing helps me run to the boss, kill the boss first, so that I can then kill the map and get correct altars, and that way I don't get altars that change how the boss is, because I'm trying to look for quant and rarity altars, and I can't find those if I'm seeing a bunch of boss mods. So that's how I'm doing that. And then ES, mana as ES when you're affected by clarity, it's just a little bit of padding defensive wise. I think it's like 400 energy shield, 500 energy shield. It's, decent. There's not many other mods I would want here. I don't need more damage. The build is dealing 435 million damage. I don't need the damage in that modifier space. Otherwise, I would probably have crit multi while affected by precision here. But yeah, I'm mainly focusing on defenses in the Watcher's Eye. And then, of course, Melding of Flesh with some reservation, which is actually pretty important to have that 2% reservation. Um, Although there are some workarounds, this is definitely like the best thing I could have, though. And yeah, that's kind of the build. So we're hitting 287% quant, 100 or 200 and what did I say? 204% rarity, something crazy. Yeah, 204% rarity. And then 315% move speed, 25,000 fire res, obviously capped at 90%, 12,000 cold and lightning res, capped at 90%, immune to chaos damage. We have 25% block chance, which, I mean, you're not going to get block chance on this build, I don't think. Really, block chance is hard to get if you're not trying for it. The build's getting 63.5 million armor. It's getting 11.5 thousand energy shield, 25,000 energy shield regen per second, um, which unfortunately doesn't matter when you're standing on certain degens. Certain degens literally turn your regen off while you're standing on it. So uh, sometimes it doesn't even matter. But that being said, the regen is incredibly good for other situations. And then we have a 532,000 effective max hit pool, which, I mean, EHP in Path of Building is kind of wonky. It's more of a general rule of thumb. It's kind of like, it's kind of in this route ballpark, but uh, I'm borderline immortal. I think the only thing that can really kill me is like having minus max res and an unstable tentacle fiend pops in my face, or like a couple of them pop in my face. Because even if one pops, sometimes it doesn't even kill me, but two will like for sure kill me. And then yeah, 400.5 million DPS, crazy, crazy numbers. This is my magnum opus. I've been working really hard on this build for a long time now. Um, Also, I'm back on YouTube. I don't know if this is gonna be a thing for a while. I've been doing a lot of work on a lot of things, um, but I did want to make this video ahead of Path of Exile 2's new expansion coming out, which I'm kind of excited for and probably will be playing. So stay tuned for that. Join the Discord. Check me out maybe on Twitch if I go live again. Who knows? Thanks for watching. I'll see you later.